Here we're going to introduce the basic valuation model. Applies to all financial assets, even though it may need to be modified somewhat depending on which particular asset you're dealing with. And it's a 3-point model. There they are, 1, 2, 3. First one is to identify all the cash flows that the asset generates or costs. That's one. The second one is to discount those cash flows appropriately. Appropriately means to whatever time, whether it's time 0 or time 1, or whether they may be lump sums or they may be annuities. We just have to identify them and discount them appropriately and then sum them or add them up. That's it. Simple. Now, the problem we have been given, I believe it's Snyder computer chips. I think you might have been sent this one by email. The first task is to identify all the cash flows, but the problem only gives us one single cash flow, and it was the dividend that was already paid, $2.20. That's D0. As we already know, D0 refers to the dividend already paid. Whether it was paid this morning or last year is irrelevant. As long as it has already been paid, it is D0, and here it is placed at time 0. That's the only cash flow we know. But our model requires us to identify all of them. And so we use the growth rates that were given. The dividends were expected to grow by 15% in year 1 and year 2, 13% in year 3, and 6% thereafter. A constant 6%. The problem asks us to calculate the terminal stock price and the current price. These are two different things. So we set up a timeline. We put 0, year 0, year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4. You'll probably wonder why we don't have year 5 and 6 and 7 and so forth and so forth. It will become clearer why we stopped at year 4. Now, the first question is to calculate the terminal stock price. You'll notice this arrow pointing to year 3 as our terminal or horizon year. You might not be able to see it clearly, but the last word is year. So year 3 is a very special year. Why? Because the period of accelerated growth, 15, 15, 13, ends there. And the period of constant growth starts there. So year 3 is a unique year because it has two cash flows. The $3.29 you see here arose from the dividends paid or expected to be paid in the accelerated growth period, which ends here. That, and that. After year 3, the question says growth slows to a constant 6%. Ping, ping. That is our cue. Constant growth starts here and goes on for an indefinite period. Nobody knows when it ends. So when we are valuing some assets like stock, it doesn't have an endpoint that we can determine. So we can count the cash flows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on our fingers because we don't know where it stops. Unlike bonds, which have a definite beginning and end, we can count those. But with stock, we can't count them. So we need to figure out a different way. And that way is this magical equation called the constant growth equation. This is the format. P0 equals D1, which is the next dividend, over K. We could have called this R or I. It just means the cost of capital, K, and G is the growth rate. So the general format of the constant growth equation is P0 equal D1 over K minus G. It only applies where constant growth is happening. So it only applies from year 3 onwards, because before that is accelerated growth. And so the general equation is set up as a specific equation, P3, because year 3 is where constant growth starts. P0 in the general equation assumes that constant growth starts at time 0. But it doesn't. In this problem, it starts at time 3. So P0 becomes P3 in our particular equation. And then we need the next dividend. Just as how we had P0 and D1, P0 and D1, so we have P3 and D4. That is why we stopped at year 4 and didn't bother with 5, 6, 7, and 8. So D4 is 349. There it is. K, the cost of capital, is 12%, 0.12. The growth rate is 6%, 0.06. And when we solve this equation, we get $58.17. This belongs here because this is where the terminal period starts. And so the terminal stock price is year 3. So year 3 has 2 cash flows, one arising from the non-constant growth period, and the other one, we would put it here, $58.17, arises from the constant growth period, which starts here. So year 3 has 2 cash flows. So that would give us the terminal stock price. We would need as well to calculate the current price. Now, the current price, I'll have to leave this here because I don't have that one, but I will explain it to you and you will be able to follow. The current price means the price here times 0. Now, that means, look again at point 1. We have now completed point 1. We have identified year 1's cash flow, year 2's, and year 3's cash flow. In the terminal or horizon value, we have identified the complete value of all cash flows occurring after year 3. So in the terminal value, $58.17, we have everything after year 3. And in these individual cash flows, we have everything up to year 3. So at this point, we have identified all the cash flows. This is year 1, this is year 2, this is year 3. And this one, the terminal value, is also year 3. Okay? So I'm going to leave that for now, and I'm going to put another video right behind this one showing you how we calculate P0. Thank you.